welcome to the big show. This is Mark Moyer, and I'm in the Clubroom, as are you, and we're all part of the Win Again Academy. Thanks for being here. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas, and we're getting towards the big end of the year. But I've got a little bit of an introduction I want to read to you all about Chukky and what we're seeing here. So again, it's great to see you all here in the Clubroom once again. This is the final event of 2020. Yes, it is. And but look, we're here as part of the Win Again Academy and our collaboration with the basic instructions of mindset mastery. And some of you already may be familiar with Chukky, but let me introduce him a little bit more. He is an 8-year NFL veteran, Super Bowl winner with his hometown Pittsburgh Steelers. And today, Chukky is an integrative psychology expert. He's a national keynote and motivational speaker, an executive mindset and perspective coach. And there's a lot of different things here, but also, and he does this for entrepreneurs and senior executives, as well as he's a language expert and a master practitioner of neuro-linguistics. So got to keep on working on that. In this program, he's going to share with us his story of how learning how to actively control mindset enabled him to overcome struggles in his early childhood and go on to achieve his highest goal in life of becoming a world-class professional athlete and a Super Bowl champion. And look, as I'm sure all of you can relate, after the year we've had, many of us were slowed down both personally and professionally by circumstances really outside of our control. And a lot of it's still happening in the world at this moment. And it's really important for all of us to take control of the one thing that only we can, and that is controlling what's going on in our minds and our hearts. And there are actual steps that anyone can apply to take control of their mindset. And, most people just don't know what they don't know. And that's what we're going to focus on today. And we're going to dive deep into it with this webinar with Chukky. So without further ado, I want to hand over the mic to Chukky Okobi. Let me just click the thing here, welcome him in. And he's going to help us break it down and take us away on this journey. Hello, Chukky. There he is.
What's happening?
What's happening? Everything's happening. I'm pretty excited about this. So I'm going to, in a couple of seconds, I'm going to back out, and then we're going to get you started, and you can do your share screen and go off from there.
Okay.
All right. 1 second. Let me cut loose. And good luck, Chukky.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us this evening. And, it's interesting because I've always seen sports as like a metaphor for life, if you will. It's just thinking about got a little ahead of myself. But back to what I was saying, thinking about the highs and lows, the emotional highs and lows, in the whole experience of working together to achieve a common goal with, those that you've bonded with. I'm thinking about the experience of 100% focus, into what I'm doing to find out how good we can actually be, plus all the valuable life lessons that you learn along the way. I'm sure you can relate. For me, it just so happens that a big part of my life journey to this point was actually experienced through sports. So you'll easily see how the lessons we learn in sports and the lessons we learn in life, a lot of times they're one and the same. That's why whether you've ever played sports at any level, or maybe you're not much of a sports fan, but either way, I imagine you can connect to this story I'm about to tell you. See, I feel blessed to have had the experiences at the highest level of sports and having success, played 8 years in the NFL and became a world champion. But what's really, really funny is when I think about it now, whenever those that are listening to me are focused on this story, football is what naturally comes to mind first, but it's so much deeper, way deeper than just sports. I mean, when I think back, we have to go deeper than just the glamour and the glitz of the NFL and the Super Bowl. I mean, I got to look deeper inside. For me, early in life, through sports, I found a coping mechanism to deal with emotional difficulties I was having during childhood. And I ended up developing a deep passion for sports early on that afforded me the privilege of learning from the coaches I had, and to me discovering how easy it can be to actively take control of my mindset and overcome challenges that seem impossible to conquer. What we're talking about is, what exactly is mindset? Now, before we go deeper, just recognize for a moment, this webinar is more than just some positive talk, law of attraction, feel-good rhetoric. What I'm talking about is the how-to of mind setting. There is a way for each of us to actually take direct control of our mindset to improve our life in this new year. They're actual basic instructions of how to do just that. Now, why didn't anyone teach me this earlier in life? They didn't know what they didn't know. And, basic instructions is more than just my company. It's not just my business, and it's a lot more than just a philosophy. It's actually my life story. And a big part of that story is what I'm going to share with you guys today. So just go ahead and relax, get comfortable right where you are, and I'll take you deeper into it. So let's go deep into where these basic instructions come from and how you can apply them in your life in this new year. So first, I'll tell you a little bit about my story. Thinking back on my journey in sports, it really all began back when I was about 7 years old. Just a young man's search for a role model, craving direction and guidance as to how to live a successful life. Now, I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And when I think about it, I never envisioned what it would feel like playing for and winning a Super Bowl for my hometown team. It's just sometimes your reality ends up being even better than you ever dreamed or imagined. Growing up with just my mom as the sole parent for me and my siblings, I'm sure you can imagine, mom's main focus wasn't really on my extracurricular activities. She had more important things on her mind. Sports is just something, when I think back to that time, sports is something I truly loved to do. I just loved to do it. And, thinking back to that time when my parents when my parents split up when I was about 10 years old, we moved out of Pittsburgh, and, I moved around a lot as a kid. And all I ever wanted to do was go back to Pittsburgh. I went to 6 schools before high school. And between growing up in a home characterized by fear and violence in the early years of my life, my father leaving when I was about 6, and, always being the new Black kid with the funny African name, it was an emotionally difficult period in my life. But back then, when I was playing sports, when I was on the baseball diamond, baseball was my first love, or when I was on the gridiron later, sports was the one place I felt good about myself. Like I was actually a valuable member of the group, part of the family, the leader of the team. And, I think growing up in a household without a father figure, it's natural for young men to look to men in their lives as examples of how they themselves should be. So when I think back on it, playing sports, what I did unconsciously is I would find my male role models. I collected father figures, men that I looked up to and from whom I learned what I believed it meant to be successful. This intense love I feel now for sports and my deep desire to develop into the very best that I can be, I'm sure you can see how I could be naturally attracted to men like this. You can relate, right? Right now, I saw my coach as the leader of the pack, the chief of the tribe, and our loving protector. So I'd watch him very closely and focus in deeply as I hang on to every word, realizing that this is somebody I want to make proud. That's how I want to be too. And so I remember it clearly, like back when I was 7 years old, I made a decision as to what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to go pro. I just wanted to play sports forever. It's just what I wanted to do. And my whole thought process when you think about it is, damn, I feel really good when I'm playing sports. If I could just do this one thing for the rest of my life, I would be totally fulfilled. I could feel this kind of self-worth and happiness as my everyday experience. So looking back, when I think about it, let me ask you guys something. You remember ever meeting someone for the very first time, and it's really interesting. You automatically feel relaxed and at ease, super comfortable even. You hear the voice in your head saying, it's really funny. I don't know what's going on right now. Can't explain it. All I know is this just feels right. I think I like him. There's definitely something different and special about this guy. You see him right now in front of you. You can already envision the positive influence and impact this person can have on your life going forward. And this is the exact experience I had the first time I met my new coach, Joe Tiller. Now, Coach came to Purdue as the new head football coach in 1997 from the University of Wyoming. In Wyoming, their team are called the Cowboys, and I'm telling you, a real cowboy is the exact energy I get from this guy. He's an easy-speaking gentleman in his 50s. He's bald. He has a seriously thick, like Burt Reynolds mustache. His cowboy boots were impressive, sexy even. His belt buckle was massive, like he was the heavyweight champion of the world. And as you can imagine, of course, he had that cowboy charm and disposition to match. And I can't forget his iconic spectacles. Now, it's 1997, and I had just finished my first year of college football, and Coach Tiller coming to Purdue as my new coach. This right now is a huge moment in my life. You see, Our last coach at Purdue, Jim Coletto, was the coach that gave me my scholarship. He was the coach that gave me this life-changing opportunity to learn and gave me a scholarship back in 1996. And after my first season in 96 with Coach Coletto, he resigned. So now he's gone from my life, and it was really painful for me. I mean, this was the only coach I believed in me. It was like the feeling like your dog ran away. So you can easily connect to how I was completely panicked in this moment. Right now, I feel nervous, and I felt this intense insecurity, deep fear about my future with the unexpected changes that were happening in my world right now and the goals I have for my future. But there's no avoiding it. I realize that now it's time for a change and a new and better approach to us creating success. Now, up until 1997, we'd suffered a lot of disappointments over the years. Purdue football, we weren't very good. We sucked. Let's just call it what it is. We weren't very good. I mean, we had just suffered 12 consecutive losing seasons. Last season in 96, we won just 3 out of 11 games total. And Purdue hadn't done much better than that over the last decade. And now here's this new coach talking to us about how the past is behind us now. And now he's painting this vivid image of how we're together going to be champions. Now, I imagine a lot of guys were not sure what to make of all of this. I mean, what he's saying does sound incredible for sure. Of course, it's what we all want deep down. And still, many were probably thinking about the mistakes we made up until now. How can we possibly overcome our past and achieve the successful results we so deeply desire going forward? I have to admit, I'm definitely feeling eager to see where he was going with all this. I mean, you'd think that someone who is now leading this team would feel the need for coaching with a lot of strict rules to instill a new kind of discipline. Maybe thinking that, I mean, we've had these problems for so long, this is probably going to be a complicated process to fix this. But this coach's approach was different, right? I just remember the feeling in this first meeting when the new coach, when he first stood up in front of the group and everybody just went silent, held their breath in anticipation of what was about to happen. Now, although he spoke very calmly and directly, his energy feels very dominant and intense. I mean, there's no doubt to anyone in this room that this man is in charge here. And so he addressed the group and he said, listen to me very carefully. We're going to be, do, and have that feeling of pride in who we are and what we do. You will hear everyone in this business singing your praises. Just wait till you see it. Wait till you see that crowd, all of your fans rushing onto the field in celebration. And the positive impact this journey we're about to take now will have on our entire lives. You will have the highest level of success in all your chosen endeavors, fellas. All that and more if you follow the one rule we have on this team, the do right rule. Do what you're supposed to do, the way you're supposed to do it, when it's supposed to be done, and do it that way every time. Believe what I'm saying now. If you simply follow these basic instructions I'm about to give you, I can guarantee you anything that is important to you, that you wish to have in your life now and in the future, it's already yours. Wow. I mean, how can I not feel excited and motivated after hearing something like that? I mean, he definitely has my full attention now. And just as I was completely drawn in by this all of a sudden familiar stranger, he went in a completely unexpected direction and started talking about the Wizard of Oz. I kid you not. Now, everyone's seen the Wizard of Oz before, am I right? So now Coach is telling us this story that we've already heard. And thinking about it now, it was kind of mind-blowing. I just realized I never thought of it like this before. I'm seeing it all differently now. So Coach is telling us, Dorothy's in a crisis. All of a sudden, everything's in vivid color now, right? She's surrounded by all these little people. Some ugly lady with a bad attitude is yelling about something. She's focused on my shoes for some reason. And Dorothy, all she wants in this moment is one thing. All she wants is to turn this desperate-looking situation into what is truly desired deep down. All she wants to do is go home, believing that she herself didn't have what it takes to solve this problem herself. She asked everyone else for advice. What do you think I should do? Where should I go? Follow the yellow brick road. Go see the wizard. Everyone says there is somebody else right here who has exactly what you're looking for. If anybody can help you, I'm telling you, this is the guy. He can get you exactly what you want. And so I imagine in this situation, she's probably saying to herself, I really do want to fix this. So I guess this is something I just have to do. So she heads down the yellow brick road. During this journey, we encounter those three characters. You remember. One doesn't think he's smart enough. The other one doesn't think he's tough enough or has the heart. And the third one doesn't think he has the courage. So with these three along for the ride, they all go down the yellow brick road. Surprising even themselves, they overcame challenge after challenge to finally get to what they thought they needed, the wizard. And what do we learn? You go through everything only to find out that there isn't somebody right here who can help you. If you want something this deeply, it's up to you. You have to take the necessary actions and just go for it. Just do it. So I imagine Dorothy's panicking at this point, wondering to herself, why does this have to feel like this? Why does it have to be so hard? Am I trapped in this situation forever? And then Coach paused for what felt like an eternity and said, you're in Dorothy's shoes now. What are you going to do about it? Coach was a deep dude, man. He was a really, really deep dude. He had a unique way of painting a picture for us. And just remembering what it was like to have a coach like this, Joe Tiller, we experienced success for Purdue football in the Big Ten Conference. Most would have never imagined for us in the late 90s, Purdue football. Now, college football fans, you recognize playing in a Power 5 conference, I guess they call it nowadays, with big teams like Ohio State and Wisconsin. Us being Purdue, up until we got this new coach, we were considered a bottom feeder, losers, a team without a chance. But fast forward in time, going into my senior year in 2000, all of a sudden, Purdue football, we were not seen as the underdogs. I mean, we had won so much in those first 3 years under this new coach. We went to 3 consecutive bowl games. And for the first time in many decades, maybe the first time ever, going to the 2000 season, Purdue football, we were actually favorites to be Big Ten Conference champions. And I just remember thinking to myself, finally, now it's my turn. And thinking back, I can't tell you how many times I worked so hard in my life to get close to my goal. It's like I can smell it. I can feel the heat coming off that goal is so close it's mine, you know? How many of you have ever been so close to what you believe you truly want deep down, only to have reality come crashing down and waking you from living your dream? Well, for us in this moment, back in 2000, I felt like right now, this is what's happening to me. So going into this season, we had such promise, but after our first 5 games in the 2000 season, our record was 3-2. We lost those 2 games by a combined 4 points, both games ending as the other team kicked the field goal as time expired, losing to Notre Dame and Penn State, respectively. We have major concerns with our special teams and our kicking game in those first 5 weeks. And this issue we have, this had to be fixed now, or this opportunity in season will be lost. I mean, after that second loss, I just felt even deeper. We fell deeper in the ranking as a team. We started the season number 10, and now we're out of the top 25 altogether. And the real heavy lifting, the really tough games against the big boys on our schedule, still in front of us. For me, those losses took me to a place really deep inside my mind. I mean, even deeper than I'd probably ever been before. I was so bothered by the pain of this idea of not reaching my goal that I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't think about anything else but this pain I was feeling, you know? I remember having this conversation with myself, thinking things like, I just can't take it anymore. I mean, we deserve better. We've done everything right. We're good enough. I've earned this. But once again, if I want this result this deeply, it's up to me to take personal responsibility and take the necessary actions now. I have to do something to fix this. So the next game on our schedule is game number 6 against the college football royal family, the Michigan Wolverines. And they were ranked number 6 in the nation at that time. Their team, especially their offense, was chock full of NFL first-round talent. I bullshit you not. Our defense featured 6 freshmen as starters against this Michigan offensive line that featured future Hall of Fame players, players that were inducted in 2020. You can imagine how this looks. You can relate to how many people believe that Purdue football, we would never be that good at the level of teams like Ohio State or Michigan. I mean, we played in a couple bowl games, right? The last few years, that was fun. But that's about as much as this team can ever be, right? They can't be champs. No way. See, at this point, I could not subscribe to that narrative. I simply just didn't believe that. I believed I deserved to be the champs. So on Thursday of that Michigan game week, I went to Coach Tiller with this idea, and I wanted him to think about something and decide if he too believed that my idea is what must be done now. You know, the thing I really, really loved about working with the coaches I've had the most is that I was always learning something new. I mean, I don't know about you, but I love learning new things. It's really exciting. I mean, we can all think back to that time. You remember the feeling of excitement when you know you're about to learn something new? When I think about it, it's just like other memories of things that we've learned. And maybe you can even remember your very earliest memory of learning when you learned what it was like to learn. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe you were with a group of other people as a child, or with someone older and more experienced, but in this moment, you knew what it was like to learn. Everything seemed right. And it sounds true. It feels real. In a lot of ways, basic instructions, it's like this voice, a voice of experience and support. So when you think about what it is you're going to learn today and you listen, you can hear this voice. And if you listen, I mean, really, really listen, you can hear this voice right now, speaking to you right from the very center of who you are. Now, this is your voice of experience and support. I have a voice like that. And you have this too. So as you listen to me now, just focus inside. I want you to connect with this voice that we all have with us on our journey through this thing we call life. Now, I'm sure you'd agree, 2020 has been a roller coaster ride for everyone. The unexpected obstacles that we faced around the globe, I'm sure you'd agree, the emotions of this year built up rapidly. At least that's been my experience. The anxiety of not knowing when this painful time is going to end, wondering when will I no longer have to feel like this? And realizing that what we always thought was worst case scenario, we highly underestimated how bad things can feel. A lot of us have big plans going into this year. Now, all of a sudden, we believe the future is full of uncertainty. And it could be tough to focus when you're wondering about kids back in school. You know, when will I go back to work? How's this affecting my career? Or in a lot of cases, restoring our physical health. I mean, 2020 has been frustrating and kind of scary for sure. Now, there's so many things happening around us that we can't control. And that's why it's so important that we take control of and fully focus on the one thing that only we can control. And that's our own mind. This is why I must focus on the importance of addressing our mental and emotional health as a society, which begins with each of us taking the responsibility of addressing our own mindset as an individual. I'm sure a lot of people can relate. I mean, feeling the impact the pandemic has had on daily life. You know, I'm sure you recognize that all year long, we've been consistently listening to, had conversations with friends and family, and day after day, read news about how bad it is out there, right? Well, what we find ourselves having is this conversation with ourselves inside our mind repeatedly about how worried and frustrated we feel about what's going on. I mean, thinking about those conversations in your mind about yourself and your situation that sounds something like, I can't, I'm not, I don't want, I can't take this anymore. I'm not going to make it through this. Think about it. These type of thoughts spinning around like a vinyl record in your mind day after day, I'm sure you'd agree, it can feel emotionally exhausting. You may not have recognized in the moment, but that thinking, those kind of thoughts for months on end, can lead one to unintentionally develop a generally fearful attitude about life overall, a negative mindset habit of feeling pessimistic about the future, making the effects of this 2020 thinking last well into the new year and beyond if you're not careful. I bet you're a lot like me, and I imagine you too definitely don't want to carry the habit of 2020 thinking into the new year, am I right? So, I mean, right now we're on the doorstep of the new year, right? And many still have these negative records playing inside their minds, while simultaneously crossing our fingers that 2021 will be better, right? Just realize that this is when we're feeling negative and trying to think positive, but that's not how it works. Internally, we're not aligned. It reminds me of back in 97, you know, when I first heard that my old coach was now leaving and that we're getting this new coach. I remember the feeling, how nervous and insecure that all my dreams for the future were in jeopardy. I mean, I had those records playing, I can't, I'm not, I don't want. And I was thinking negative because I was feeling negative. I had to release the fear and frustration that I was feeling. I needed some new piece of information that could give me a new perspective and restore my faith in my future goals. I needed tools to enable me to rid myself of the painful emotions so I can think clearly, right? I need to develop myself at an even deeper level. And so I went searching for something when I was in college. And I began my search at a used bookstore on campus, believing that here I would find what would help me to take control of my mindset. And I found exactly what I needed. The book that I stumbled upon in my search in this used bookstore, I shit you not, it's called The Secret of Creating Your Future. And what I learned here opened up a whole new world of possibilities. Many of the possibilities as I stand here today, I actually realized in my real life. Now, the concept that I learned back then that changed everything for me was this understanding that as a human being, my entire world and life experience is actually in my mind. What I'm learning now helped me realize that events in life are not positive or negative, right? Things just happen. The universe doesn't care about my fate. It's indifferent to the setbacks or obstacles that may arise in life. Things just happen. It's in my mind that I choose to interpret them as negative. Now, recognize that the negative story you're telling yourself about 2020, that story's all in your mind. And realizing that the choice I'm making to believe that this negative story is my truth is actually what's making me feel this way. It has me mentally blocked, emotionally stuck, and fearful about the future. We're actually doing this to ourselves. And believe it or not, this is actually excellent news. This is excellent news. And think about this for a moment. If I'm the one that's doing this to myself, then I'm the one that's in charge of how I feel. So I have the power to change the story. I have the power to make life feel exactly how I desire it to be. And remembering back when I first learned this, man, I was fascinated realizing that it's all just in my mind. I create it and I control it. And I just remember thinking to myself, if my entire world is in my mind, and if I can learn to control what goes on in my mind, well, then logic leads me to believe that I can learn to control my entire world. And that's what I'm about to share with you, how each and every one of us can do exactly that, control our internal world, take control of our mental and emotional mindset. We actually do have control over these mindsets, these aspects of our minds as human beings. And I mean, think about it. There's nobody else in your mind but you, right? So you got to ask yourself, who's in charge of here? COVID? As human beings, each of us can directly control our thoughts and direct our emotions towards our desired experience. And that's what I want to share with you. The how-to of controlling my mindset and results in life, the basic instructions. Now, the wisdom I gained from working with a coach and this newfound knowledge on how to control my mindset, take control of my world is exactly what I did. And it's a lot simpler than you might expect. I'll go even deeper and show you in just a moment what I mean. We've got to go deeper though, open our minds up and take a look at what a successful mindset is from a different perspective. It's like Jim Rohn used to always say, if we change the way we look at things, the things we look at start to change. So just sit back and open ourselves up to look at our life experiences, including 2020, differently. Learn about what's going on in our minds and in our hearts and the basic instructions for controlling it all. So let's get into it. When I think about this first learning that I'm about to share with you, it reminds me of my head coach when I was on the Steelers, the 2020 Hall of Fame inductee, Bill Cowher. And it was something that he used to say to us as a group that accurately describes what I want to teach you about first before I get into the actual basic instructions. I imagine it's probably his way of illustrating to us that as our coach, we can trust him 100% and we can easily have faith in his wisdom. It makes perfect sense when I think about it. And he would say, guys, you don't know what you don't know. Even though you may not realize it, it's what you don't know that you don't know that's actually running the show. And guys, think about this. Since you don't know what you don't know, how do you know what you think you know is right? Don't answer me out loud. Just relax and think about this for a moment. Now, this would always capture my attention. I just remember thinking, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah, it's pretty obvious, coach. But wait a second. You're saying that what I don't know is what's running the show? If what I don't know is running the show, it's what's in charge of what's happening in my life right now. And as I think about it, I realize I'm not getting my desired results in several areas in life. Now, if I don't know what it is that I don't know, if I don't know what's leading to my lack of success, how do I fix this when I don't know what I don't know? Now, this is where the basic instructions begins to give you power over success in your mindset. And we'll go deeper into that in a moment. But first, I have to illustrate exactly how we function inside our human minds in order to show you how to take control and direct your mindset properly. First, I have to make you aware of that which you don't know you don't know. Now, as an integrative psychology professional, allow me to explain how the human mind actually works to create our life experiences and how our mind and our emotions come into play as it pertains to our behavior and results, whether those results are what we want deep down or the opposite of what we deeply desire. So let's talk about how your human mind works to create the results. You recognize that it's the things that are in our mind that make us believe that achieving this result is going to be easy or even at all possible. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard that notion that we as humans only use 10% of our brain power. Am I right? That's not exactly accurate. We use 100% of the power of our minds. It's just that there are two types of human thinking. We all have one mind and two layers. And it's about a 10%, 90% split. So allow me to explain how these two minds communicate to work together now to create your results and perceptions of what's possible. Each and every one of us have a conscious mind and an unconscious mind, or you've probably heard to refer to as the subconscious mind. Now, I want to use this picture as this metaphor here to explain to you how your mind works, makes it easy to understand. I love to use this picture to illustrate the dynamics between the conscious and the unconscious mind. And you see the joy on this child's face? I mean, I can actually feel how happy she is. I love it. She's excited, man. She's got big plans for the future. You see, she has the leash, right? So she's clearly in charge. She represents your conscious mind, or what sometimes we refer to as the human mind. Now, this big, beautiful animal, right? Sweet, loving companion, it's much bigger and stronger, more powerful than its owner. Am I right? He loves and protects her with all his might. Now, this Great Dane, this represents your unconscious mind or subconscious mind. To give you an idea of the first mind, your conscious mind, it's what you think and experience consciously, your thoughts and ideas that you experience in your normal everyday waking state. It's the logical, analytical part of your mind, the part of you that makes the decisions, sets the goals, decides where we're going. And believe it or not, the conscious mind is actually the less powerful self. And you may be surprised to discover this is not the part of the mind that's in charge of your results. It's not running the show. The exponentially more powerful self or mind is that unconscious, or what sometimes we call the animal mind. This is where your life experience and results you achieve really take shape. The unconscious, your unconscious is much more powerful, just like this dog is much more powerful than this human, right? It has to be, because it has many more important functions than the conscious mind. Your unconscious mind is a very important part of you. This is where our natural instincts and functions reside. Think about it for just a moment. Your unconscious mind has the critical responsibility of running your entire body and keeping you alive. What is it that's making your heart beat right now? Causing your blood to circulate, your breathing to continue when you're asleep, your eyes to blink, and many other functions that you never have to consciously consider. I mean, you're not aware that your unconscious mind is doing this right now, even though we can all agree that what I'm saying is true. You do these things automatically. And your unconscious mind does a lot of things for us that we're not consciously aware of. All the things we don't know, we don't know. So check it out. The conscious mind does all of the complex thinking. And your unconscious mind is where our natural programming, our instincts, your feelings live. Now, unconscious mind does a lot of things. I don't have time to get into all of your unconscious functions in this webinar, but it's really funny because I'm a real nerd when it comes to psychology and performance. I'm sure you can imagine that I can go deep into this. It's deeper than that, though. I mean, I can go really deep. It's not something I want to get too deep into in this moment, but without getting too deep into it, though, the main thing I want you to keep in mind as you stay with me and listen is that your unconscious mind is also where your emotions live. Your emotions. So all your memories, all your past unpleasant memories that have these emotions attached to them, they live in the part of our mind that we are not consciously aware of. This is what Coach was talking about. This is what you don't know. And this is what's running the show. Now, thinking about where you are at this point in your journey, going into this new year, 2021, looking to experience a positive and prosperous year, much better than the last one. I think we can all agree on that. The question I got to ask myself is, what's going on at that unconscious level that I don't know that I don't know? Let me go even deeper and explain this. This is how we store memories of the past in our unconscious mind, the part of your mind that you're not consciously aware of. Now, what I want you to do is imagine your unconscious mind is like this hallway here. You have all these different rooms or closets on either side. Each one's got a label on it. And so this door over here says happy, right? And the next door down says grateful. And the next door down the hallway says excited. So here's what happens. Every time you feel this emotion that we call happy, your entire life, from the first time you felt love and joy as a baby to the first sip of coffee this morning, what the unconscious mind says, what the great day says, these feel the same. So it takes the happy memories and they go in the happy room. Every time you feel grateful, it goes in the grateful room. Every time you feel excited, it goes in the excited room. But here's the thing about emotions. There's no such thing as good or bad emotions. We have positive and we have negative, but there's no good or bad emotion. It's kind of like this battery, right? I got a positive side and I got a negative side, but I'm sure you'd agree there's no bad side to the battery. So over here, I got a room that's labeled angry. And I got this room next door to that that's labeled fear. And the next door is labeled guilt. So every time I felt this emotion we call anger, from the first time somebody took my toy away as a baby to when somebody cut me off on the highway earlier this morning, what the unconscious mind says, these feel the same. And those angry memories go into the anger room. Every time you feel fear, it goes into the fear room. Every time you feel guilt, it goes to the guilt room in the unconscious. Now, here's the significance. Whichever room has the most stuff in it, it creates at an unconscious level what we call an emotional filter. And so imagine you're looking at that tree, and we believe we're looking at the tree as it is. We're seeing it's green, the sky is blue, the cloud is white. I feel like I'm seeing the tree clearly. But what you can't see as you're looking at this is the panes of glass. And that glass represents your emotional filter through which you engage your world, through which you perceive your abilities, through which you look at every situation is through the lens of what emotions are dominant in that unconscious mind. So I want my happy room to look like this. I want my happy room to be like Michael Phelps's trophy room. I should be calling contractors to bust out the walls. You know how much happiness I got left to put in here? There's a lot of happiness coming up in the future. But what happens when my filter or my anger room has the most stuff? And it looks like this. A lot of times, we're not consciously aware. This is the unconscious. We're not consciously aware of all the things that we're carrying in our unconscious mind. And a lot of times when we're feeling emotionally blocked or stuck, this may be what's happening metaphorically. So, each room, whichever one's dominant, when you have those stories going around, I can't, I'm not, I don't want, I can't, I'm not. Any negative story, it's what I call limiting beliefs greatest hits. It's like you have this jukebox in each room. And depending on whatever negative emotion you're feeling, then those songs are going to come out. I can't, I'm not, I don't want. And so what we're dealing with is the filters, the stuff in the rooms, and these records that are playing in our minds all the time, these limiting beliefs. And so it's all about how the human mind communicates with the animal. Has the kid trained the dog effectively? Recognize that if we aren't aligned inside and communicating with your unconscious self effectively, now all of a sudden, we the human are not walking this dog. This dog is walking us. He's in control. I mean, you can imagine why gaining control of your mindset or moving closer to your goals can sometimes feel like this uphill battle. What the basic instructions is about helping you live your best life and creating the mental and emotional balance you desperately need by aligning the faculties of the head and the heart, synchronizing those mental faculties and the emotions, getting the dog and the little kid on the same page so that they can enjoy life moving forward, right? We got to get them on the same page. What you're learning about now is how to communicate with yourself effectively, so that inside you can feel confident in the fact that you know that your faithful companion, your unconscious mind, has been trained properly. And when your unconscious has been guided properly, it can and will be your most valuable and trusted ally as you approach this new year and beyond. So that's a little bit of background, and I think we're ready. The moment we've all been waiting for, right? So it's the moment we've all been waiting for. Time for me to give you the actual basic instructions of mindset mastery. Now, there's 4 requisites for cultivating an empowered mindset to easily navigate challenges and maintain your focus and motivation as you create the positive changes you're looking for in this new year. 4 mindset principles that I'm telling you, when applied to the context of what you'd like to improve and experience in your life, they'll enable you to create the necessary mindset to achieve your specific desired results and become the master of your overall life experience. You may be surprised at how basic these steps are as you look at this slide. And believe it or not, it's really this simple. But let's get deeper into it. Now, we'll touch on all of them. But right now, I want to spend some more time and focus on the number 1 requisite for creating positive change in your life and high-level success in your business in this new year. When I work with you, what you'll find is that once we've mastered the first one, the other 3 basic instructions will naturally and easily lead you to your desired results. So here we go. The first requisite of the basic instructions: let go of the past. This is even deeper than you might think. Now, basic instruction number 1 actually has 2 parts to it. First is we got to let go of the past historically, right? Let me explain. Think about it. You remember, if you think back to 1968, if you asked me at that time if it was possible for man to set foot on the moon, if I'm relying on history to tell me what's possible in the future, I'd say no, it's not possible, because up till now, no one's ever done it before. It's really funny how in 1969, this specific result happened for the first time. Feel me? With that said, when you think about how things turned out for you in the past, the tactics, the strategies, maybe even gimmicks that you've tried applying to improve your life or career, the frustration or the guilt that those past efforts bring up for you now, the belief that we can't or we're not, that belief is what we need to let go of. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, right? Maybe we can actually make more money this year, finally have that ideal romantic relationship, finally gain control over my physical health. What if this situation that I thought was hopeless is actually achievable? That's the first part of basic instruction number 1. We got to let history go. The second part is something that Andrew Carnegie, the great steel magnate and the richest man that ever lived, worth over $400 billion. He said in an interview back in 1908, and he stressed the second part of basic instruction number 1, and that is that we need to let go of the past emotionally. Let go of the past. I mean, it seems like it should be easy, doesn't it? But because your memories and emotions are in the unconscious, this is what we don't know. We don't know. You may not realize that the past may still be haunting you in your life right now. And how exactly this is a problem for you isn't necessarily in your conscious awareness yet. So it can appear to be a complex and difficult thing to identify. Now, I'm sure you relate. Who else can admit to ourselves that we too have been guilty of holding on to grudges and negative emotions, letting them affect how we feel and act in the moment? Me too, my hand is up with you. We all know someone who is right now playing that same old record, right? They're right now thinking about dwelling on the business partner who wronged you, the former spouse who robbed you of your dignity, the negative circumstances that you could have never foreseen, like COVID. That anger you feel now thinking about the past situation is the very thing that prevents us from being happy in our life in the present. I mean, parents, just think like when your baby was first learning to walk. Imagine if the 100 times they fell down, they continued to believe that gaining the freedom and happiness of learning what she needs to do deep down, she let that frustration of those falls stop her. I mean, the same is true for each of us right now. So when you think about the things you want to achieve, many times we're thinking about past attempts that didn't work out. And with these memories in your unconscious, there's that vinyl record, the guilt around your past mistakes, the anger you feel towards someone you believe wronged you. What you're actually recalling in the present are just the painful emotions attached to those experiences in your unconscious. They're not happening now, but that negative feeling you have is happening in this moment. Now we're believing that attempts in the future will probably be the same as they were with that past letdown, right? But here's something to maybe consider. Are you certain that's true? I mean, what if it's not? Think about it. Holding on to that limiting belief in your unconscious can prevent us from realizing what we need to do to idealize that vision we have for ourselves and, and effectively accomplish what we set out to do here in this new year. That's the big thing. Think about it. You've been here before. You learn how to walk, right? Basic instructions have not changed. In your mind, you just have to learn to let go of the past. And you can imagine the weight of carrying those losses and the pain that comes with in your unconscious can start to eventually weigh you down. I mean, just imagine 5 or 10 years pass and we've allowed this mental block to persist. And we only got so much sand in our hourglass. So eventually the dream is over and the opportunity is lost. Basic instruction number 1 goes back to those emotional rooms in the unconscious that we talked about a moment ago. We have to make sure that we're not looking down the path towards our goal through any negative emotional filters or carrying unnecessary baggage in those unconscious rooms. When we're feeling stressed out, anxiety, or hear those limiting beliefs in our mind, our old negative emotions, that's when they're getting in the way of our present happiness and our future success. That's why Andrew Carnegie highlighted this as the most important requisite to set ourselves up for success: learning emotional discipline and learning to get rid of all emotions and limiting beliefs in our mind that are not beneficial to us in the present as it pertains to meeting our future goals. Any thought or feeling, any story I tell myself in my mind that's not positive, that sounds like I can't or I'm not, is simply not serving my agenda. It's just going to slow me down, so I have to let it go if I'm to reach my goal of future success. So, that's what I do with basic instructions, perspective coaching. Now, for me, as a psychology professional and an emotional breakthrough specialist, cleaning out those rooms is actually my forte and my main focus working with clients and with companies. I'm sure you're imagining, how can one clean out all of that pain and limiting beliefs? The way I help clients clear out all the unnecessary mental baggage is with a cutting edge coaching application called Mental and Emotional Release. Now, mental and emotional release is a method by which you can actively clean out your unconscious mind. Now, MER is a clinically researched and proven method that allows you to gain emotional control over your life and your results. And this is what we're talking about. A lot of the times it's those beliefs and the pain from the past that are in your unconscious that are preventing us from being all that we can be, doing what we need to do and having the type of life experience that we want. So what we're talking about is eliminating any unnecessary and any emotional baggage that's stuck in the unconscious, allowing you to move forward towards your goal and desires easily and effortlessly. Now, when I work with clients, mental and emotional release is the first step to mindset mastery. It's cleaning out our closet, starting fresh without the weight of the past limiting beliefs and emotional filters clouding our perception of our ability to achieve our desired result. And you can imagine a new profound sense of confidence and clarity in your career now after we're done with basic instruction number 1. So whether it be business or personal situations, thinking about that argument with your spouse that you guys had last week, your finances not being where you'd like them to be, or how difficult dealing with COVID was last year. Thoughts about these things and the emotions attached to them spinning around in your mind like a vinyl record? With MER, it's all gone. So it's not coming to mind in the present anymore. A new profound sense of clarity on your desired results in life as a whole. A pure laser beam focus on the task at hand, because that's where we want our mindset to be, right? Now, this is a really big deal. Believe me, it's deeper than you think. And just so that you fully understand the magnitude of what I'm saying right now, we're talking about cleaning out those emotional rooms from your entire life, all gone within 5 to 8 hours of coaching using mental and emotional release. And this goes much, much deeper than you may realize. Think about all the reasons that have ever made you believe that you were not worthy, the reason you believe you can't do it, or think that that event from the past and it still hurts right now. All that pain, limiting beliefs from the past, eliminated once and for all. That's what you got to do. They're just no longer serving your agenda. So you realize they got to go. This is really what basic instructions is all about. Now, coming up in this new year, we'll be hosting a Basic Instructions and Win Again Academy Basic Instructions Mindset Mastery course. And I'll guide you and get you a deeper understanding of what exactly experience the effects of mental and emotional release. Like, what is it? Giving you an actual experience of it. We'll talk more about that as we go along here. But it really is that basic. I kid you not. We'll talk and get even deeper into it. So that's basic instruction number one. Basic instruction number two. Now that we've cleaned out all the unnecessary negative emotions and limiting beliefs in your unconscious, you can imagine now you're feeling light, you're feeling good, thinking clearly now, feeling intensely optimistic about the future. Imagine it, because this is the state you want to be in when we apply basic instruction number two, deciding your specific desired outcome. So when we're talking about basic instruction number two, we're talking about a new strategy for effective goal setting. Now, setting goals in a way that will make it feel easy and natural pursuing and achieving this specific desired result. Now, think about how many times we set goals and then struggle to get exactly what we want to experience. It's like I always tell new clients when we first start working together, me as your coach, imagine the way we work is like I'm your compass or navigation system, a mental GPS, if you will, guiding you as quickly as possible to your desired destination. And I'm sure you'd agree, if I were to open up the GPS on my phone right now, it wouldn't be much value to me unless I give it a specific desired destination of exactly where I want it to take me, right? Basic instruction number two. So as it pertains to creating the positive changes and success in this new year that you deeply desire, what I want you to think about is taking a deeper approach to how we formulate our goals in the new year in our mind. The question I'm probably asking myself is, how specific have I gotten with my future goals, my goals for 2021? Or are you just saying, I just want this to be better? Well, that's great that you want things to be better, but just realize that better is a very vague and ambiguous term. Basic instruction number two, decide on my specific desired result. What do I specifically desire to improve and experience in this new year? I'm asking myself, what is my main focus in my mind day to day? I mean, we spend so much time in our minds thinking about those unpleasant memories and future worst case scenarios, how bad things will be if they end up like they did last time. Recognize that these thoughts in your unconscious are negatively emotionally charged. These are the things that keep us up at night, stressed out about what if that worst case scenario actually happens. I'm sure you can relate. The story I'm telling myself, that's the record spinning in my mind. That's what's making me feel this way. When I follow basic instruction number two, when we set goals to achieve our specific desired results in our work, in our home life, in our health, I mean, just imagine what things will feel like when you actually achieve that specific result. It's got to be more than just a number of pounds to lose or a number of dollars to gain. It's deeper than that. Our goals need to be three-dimensional. Three-dimensional. Imagine in vivid detail what my life will look like, sound like, and how will it feel when I achieve my ideal mindset and goals for this new year. Getting in touch now with what will truly fulfill you is that's what we've got to think about in this new year. How will that feel for you emotionally? Identifying this feeling you have when you think about that perfect result right now. This feeling of satisfaction, I'm sure you'd agree, is even more valuable to you than just dollars and cents. Now that all the emotional filters are gone, since we follow basic instruction number one, now you can create this ideal reality in your mind, which is technically the second step in bringing this feeling into your real life. I mean, think about it. Recognize that every human invention, from the wheel to the Hubble telescope, all started as a vision, an idea in one human being's mind. Now, to make your idea come true, you have to first clearly see it in your mind. If you can see it, then you can be it. So we must tell ourselves the story of what we want to experience. If we are ever to live that story in real life, our specific desired result must remain in our mind as we're moving forward along our life journey, every step of the way. And there's actually science to back the positive effects of following basic instruction number two. Setting your specific desired outcome, looking at it from a psychological point of view. When you have a clearly defined specific goal or target in mind, it actually helps to activate what's called your reticular activation system, which is the brain's internal radar, to focus on finding and selecting relevant information in your world along your path every single day that will help you achieve your specific desired results. You'll all of a sudden become much, much more aware when an opportunity presents itself to you now, seeing new ways to move you closer to your goal. And this may be the key to fixing whatever is wrong in any area of life. Decide what you want life overall to actually be like. What's the specific desired overall outcome for you as an individual, as a human being? What do you want to experience? In the 6-week Mindset Mastery program we have coming up here in a couple of weeks, we go deeper into how to effectively set goals in 2021. Basic instruction number 2, decide your specific desired outcome. Now, we're halfway through, so let's just jump to basic instruction number 3, taking the necessary actions to achieve the desired result. So we're halfway there now. Basic instruction number 3. And since we follow basic instructions in order so far, you imagine now you're free of the pain of the past, and we have our specific desired result, a vivid idea of what life will look, sound, and feel like when we achieve this outcome. So now it's time to take this image in our minds and bring this experience into your real life. Time to make things happen for real. Basic instruction number 3. I want you to focus in as I emphasize that we are taking the necessary action. This is key. Think about it. In the past, many times we felt like we were working our butt off to create success. I mean, we were really trying to improve. We feel like we've tried everything to motivate our team, increase productivity, and everything we do is falling short in terms of our New Year's resolution. Again, things at home are still shaky. Everything you've tried to communicate your needs to your spouse to provide them with what you believe they need, it keeps falling short. Well, I'm sure you recognize that whatever actions I've been taking up until now obviously are not the necessary actions. None of these actions are working. When creating positive change and moving towards a different, happier, more satisfying life, it's going to require us to do things differently. And this is a big part of the work we do together in the 6-week program with Win Again. Learning about what you didn't know about your faulty plan to make things better, the ineffective unconscious strategies, the records spinning in your mind that were consistently leading to the opposite of what your desired result is. We have to be free in our mind and know exactly what we want. We have to determine the exact destination so that we know the exact necessary actions that we must take to give us the best chance. If we have doubt and frustration in our mind as we take action every day, that's the feeling that the end result will probably give me too. And just the same, if I focus all of my attention on the desired outcome, same dynamic. That positive outcome is much more likely to happen. And this is even deeper than you think, because most people don't recognize that speaking and communicating is also an action. Think about this. With the emotional filters gone and the goal clearing your mind now, you become naturally and more effective when communicating with others to inspire, to motivate, to positively influence them. Basic instruction number 3, taking the necessary actions for you may simply mean learning better communication skills, how to be more effective using the power of your words to create the New Year experience that you deeply desire. Necessary actions, I can't stress enough. It's something that, the great American cartoonist from the early 20th century, Don Harold, said. I couldn't have put it any better. And he said, unhappiness is not knowing what we want and killing ourselves to get it. We got to make sure that we aren't killing ourselves just working and being busy. We got to make sure we're making the right moves. Basic instruction number 3, taking the necessary actions. So that's basic instruction number 3, the last step. The last step to create that ideal result you see in your mind. We've let go of the past. We have a clearly defined desired result in mind, and we're ready and willing to take the necessary actions to create this positive change. All that's left to do is follow basic instruction number 4, focus until. And I imagine you may be wondering, focus until what? Focus until you achieve your desired experience, your desired result. Now, there's a book that really illustrates this point, basic instruction number 4, better than I could. And he gets a little more in depth in it. But if you're familiar with the book, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, what he illustrates is that the results we attain in our life experience happen 2 ways, gradually and then suddenly. Gradually and then suddenly. Think about it. That's how we go broke. That's how we become wealthy. That's how we get fat. That's how we get skinny. Gradually, then suddenly. Now, the size or magnitude of this positive shift you want to make in your life this new year, it's not really an issue. Matter of fact, I'm a big believer that you should actually be as ambitious as you possibly can with what you'd like to accomplish. Dream as big as you can. Just understand that the size of that goal will play a determining factor in how long it will take to accomplish it, whether it's 10 weeks, 10 months, or 10 years. The question we have to ask ourselves is, can I stick to basic instruction number 4 and focus until? I mean, recognize that it's going to take time to get used to these new necessary actions that we're taking to create this better future, right? Doing things differently with these new actions, it can feel uncomfortable at first, right? But it's just like working out to get in better physical shape. You just have to maintain your focus over the long term. We have to do the uncomfortable repeatedly until it becomes comfortable. Make these new actions unconscious. This is developing the necessary habits that will lead us to success by simply executing these necessary actions consistently over time. Now, this is where the power of basic instructions truly lies. By taking the necessary actions to reach your goals consistently over time, they become automatic habits that no longer take conscious effort to execute. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how we train the dog. This is how we press the new records. This is how we program our unconscious mind to operate towards success automatically. We have to stay focused on the goal each and every day. Express that focus through our daily actions, the habits that we've cultivated that will lead us to the perfect picture easily and effortlessly. I'm telling you, it's as good as guaranteed, gradually then suddenly, if I faithfully adhere to the basic instructions. Focus, focus, focus until. So those are the 4 steps of achieving mindset mastery that up until now may have seemed elusive. Learning how to completely let go of the emotions, especially as it pertains to what we believe is possible for the future. Developing new strategies for better, more effective goal setting. A specific desired result. No more ambiguity in our vision, right? Everything's clear now. Envisioning this new goal in vivid detail. What life will look like, sound like, and feel like for you in the future, 2021. Recognizing that it's going to require we take necessary actions to get to where we deeply want to go, and understanding that it's going to take a consistent effort, maintaining our focus until, and taking those necessary actions over time to make my desired result my reality. Now, I'm giving you these steps in this order for a reason. You got to follow the basic instructions in order, or I promise you the results will not be good. And think about it. Have you ever gotten angry and taken action in that state? I tell you, one thing I learned playing sports, and you probably did too, is when you follow the basic instructions out of order, you will be penalized. Now, baseball is my first love, right? So what happens when a player gets hit by a pitch? And I mean, baseball, just thinking about it, it hurts, right? What if you then decide to act on that feeling and rush the mound to fight? Well, then you'd be ejected, penalized. You know, I remember when I was on the Steelers, we were playing Monday Night Football in Tampa. And I remember the feeling of playing on Monday Night Football, all eyes on me. Monday Night Football, it always feels like this mini celebration every week, like a little Super Bowl. This particular Monday night, it wasn't our best night. You know, we were getting beat pretty bad. And I don't recall the exact score. I just remember the feeling of that loss back then. I mean, it's late in the game, and chances of winning this one don't look very good at this point. Then a play happened that Coach Cowher wanted to challenge, so he pulled out his red challenge flag and he throws it on the field, right? Now, the refs have been behaving as if they were blind all night, so it's no surprise the refs didn't see the red flag when Coach threw it. And as you can imagine, Coach Cowher was not in the best mood right now. I mean, he could just feel the anger rise, and he's turning red, and I guess he just had enough. And he decided to take action in this angry state. So he runs out onto the field, picks up the red flag, and proceeds to drill the ref in the back with it. What do you think happened next? Well, the yellow flags came out, penalized. Just made a bad situation worse. I'm sure you'd agree, following basic instructions would have prevented these examples from happening. I found it's just a better way to go about life. I mean, what I think about is, how long am I going to keep doing the same thing over and over, falling short and feeling bad about myself? How long has it been like this? And when you think about this year, what's probably in those emotional rooms from 2020 in your unconscious, scary to think about. I mean, I think we can all agree that's an experience I give anything to get rid of. Definitely want to leave it in the past. I mean, I just think personally, if I've been wanting to get rid of a mental block or emotional problem I've been having, and I'm completely determined to fix this, and it's been a struggle up till now, I have to consider that maybe continuing to struggle is the wrong way to go about this. Maybe relaxing and exploring different possibilities, a new way to fix this. I mean, I don't know what I don't know. There may be an easier way. Something to think about. You know, this trip down memory lane is crazy. I mean, just thinking back to my senior year with Coach. Just remember, this is a 2000 college football season. Purdue football, we started this year as favorites to win the Big Ten title. And all of a sudden, we find ourselves in this very vulnerable position of having this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity slip away. We're 3-2. We've fallen out of the top 25. And we have 4 Big Ten opponents ranked in the next 4 weeks. Now, this is my senior year, my last opportunity to become conference champs. And with the 6th-ranked Michigan team full of thoroughbreds coming into our house, I took personal responsibility upon myself to take what I believe was the necessary action. And here's how that game from October 2000 unfolded.
At 3-2, the 2000 Purdue Boilermakers were staring at a gauntlet of an October. 31 days that would define their season. 4 conference games, 3 nationally ranked opponents, beginning with the number 6 Michigan Wolverines.
We can stop the bleeding now, or we can just lay down and die. And Michigan's coming in here. It's either them or me, and it ain't going to be me.
Now, that game was unique. I can remember Brock saying, Jimmy, you're going to score a lot because we can't slow them down.
You know, probably the first 2 or 3 plays they threw at me. And I was like, oh, goodness, it's going to be a long game.
Michigan scored a touchdown on each of its 4 offensive possessions in the first half, building a 28-10 lead and sending Purdue to the locker room in desperate need of a season-saving turnaround.
We're going to end up in El Paso instead of Pasadena. And I think that's what the fan base felt at halftime.
I told the team, we know you guys are going to stop this football team. We're going to shut them out in the second half. We got them right where we want them. I'm not sure I believe that, but it sounded good.
Drew Brees got up. I think Matt Light got up and talked about how it's a whole second half. If they scored that many points the first half, why can't we score that many points the second half? Defense has got to step up and get some stops.
It's all about heart. It was all about discipline. This game is about us and what we wanted to prove to ourselves and to our fans in that stadium.
And all of a sudden, the defense gives up 79 yards in the second half, and the offense starts moving the ball up and down the field.
I knew that at 28-10, if things continued on that pace, we had no chance of coming back. But I also knew that it was only a matter of time before our offense just the lid kind of came off.
We essentially came out in that third quarter and just started to play our game. We started to throw the ball a little bit more.
Brees gave me a nice pass, and I think Marlon Jackson was on me and kind of slowing him off a little bit.
Trailing 31-29 with just over 2 minutes remaining, kicker Travis Dorsch, who had already been replaced as punter, had an opportunity to give Purdue the lead from 32 yards out.
There was a little wind moving from right to left. I knew that I struck it well. Unfortunately, it missed.
Well, you know, when he missed, I had to stay away from it because that may have been the closest I've ever come to assaulting a player in public.
We're sitting on the bench, and he comes back to me, and he's looking at me, and he's like, what did I do? Like, what have I done? And I said, Travis, we're all right. We got time on the clock. And any time that we have that clock is ticking, we have a chance.
Our defense didn't say a word to me. They got their butts on the field. They got the 3 and out that we needed. Drew works his way back down the field and puts me almost in an identical position. I knew that this kick was pretty much a career maker or breaker for me.
Here comes Travis Dorsch, officially 33 yards.
I had all the faith in the world in Travis, and even though he missed the first one, we knew that if we give him another opportunity, he'll make it.
Here's the snap, the placement, and the boot. It is up. It is good. It's good. It's good. It's good. 4 seconds to go. Travis Dorsch has the monkey off his back. Purdue is pushing it. 32-31.
I think, again, the thing most fans are going to remember is the obscene gesture that the doors from Acre were the fans. The emotion came to a head there, and I went and saluted our student section and thanked them for all the support in the offseason.
That was obviously a breakthrough win for the program. I think that's the game that Tiller kept pointing to, that, maybe the program may come of age.
That was a beautiful feeling. Being in a sea of madness, I mean, it was crazy. And I remember, everybody's in there just grabbing on you, telling you, they were so happy.
That's the epitome of complementary football. Both sides working with each other, making plays for each other, put each other in good positions, and just knowing that this is our time, and this will be a defining moment for our team this year, but also our program.
This players only meeting that we have. And, our quarterback said, Chukky pretty much led us and said, we're not playing for the same thing we used to play for, Bree said. In the past, we were just kind of playing to get to a bowl game. This year, we're playing to go to the Rose Bowl, win a Big Ten championship. So it was kind of a new attitude, a new focus, a revived goal. I went to Coach Tiller with an idea. I should decide if something had to be done. And as a senior on this team, I wanted to speak to my teammates. No coaches in the room. He looked at me and thought for a moment and said, I'll think about it, which coming from this coach means yes. Now, each game week, we have a Thursday night team meeting where Coach goes over the game plan for Saturday and gives his motivational talk to the group before the game. And after he finished talking, he said, okay, anyone who's not a player on this team, leave the room now. And at that point, all that was left in the room were us players. The group just sat there silently. I had a lot going on in my head in this moment, so it felt like an hour before I walked up to the podium and addressed my brothers, but it was probably like 30 seconds. So I slowly got up and walked to the podium that Coach just spoke at a moment ago. And I just looked into the eyes of my brethren and told my truth. I told them about the domestic violence that I witnessed in my home constantly when I lived in Pittsburgh. Never knowing if today was the day my dad was going to kill my mom or if I was going to be next. The pain of my nomadic childhood, always feeling like I was never good enough, believing my life didn't matter, that I didn't have a tribe, that I was a valued member of. I never belonged anywhere. And I expressed my gratitude and thanked all of them and told them how I found a home in this team, how they're my family now, and how we have a chance to do something that our school, our community, and college football they've never seen this before, and they'll never forget what we did here. But I'd ask my fellow seniors a question first. So I asked Matt Light, what year did you join this football team, Matt? Matt said 1996. So I said, as did I. Do you remember what our record was that year? And Matt said 3-8. Then I asked our quarterback, Drew Brees. I said, Drew, what year were you recruited to play here at Purdue? Drew said class of 1997. So I asked him, what was the 97 Purdue recruiting class ranked among the 11 Big Ten teams? And he smiled slightly and he said, we were ranked 11 out of 11. We were the worst group in the conference. Then I said, okay, guys, if we don't do what has to be done right now with this opportunity, 3-8, worst of the worst. That's who we are. That's how we'll be remembered. I mean, that is if anybody even remembers we were here. This has got to happen now. Not the next game, not next year. This is my senior year. There's only now. You do realize if we don't stop the bleeding right now, no one will ever remember we were even here. Yeah, we played in a few bowl games. We had some success. But there's another level we have yet to reach. You realize history doesn't celebrate second place. Nobody remembers the runner-up. We've made some mistakes. But the objective to be champs is still there. It's still ours for the taking. Big Ten champs is right there, right in front of us. I can smell it. I feel the heat coming off of it. We're so close. Now is our time. I believe that with every ounce of my being, mind, body, and soul, all the way down to my bone marrow, My question to you all is, do you believe me? Do you believe that we are somehow less than worthy? I mean, why not us? Do you believe, or do you believe our past mistakes are who we are? Those last 2 losses define us. Or do you believe what I'm telling you right now? That on Saturday, we're going to do what they say is impossible. Show the world who we really are. Yes, I believe that, and I believe in you. Defense. You know, I really don't care who they have on offense. I know what people are saying. Purdue, oh my God, they're screwed. Their defense is full of freshmen. Michigan's going to run them over. Well, the way I see it is, you were good when we recruited you. You came here to play defense. You took that scholarship. Now go out there and stop them. This got to happen now, and I believe in you. The question is, freshmen, do you believe me? Recognize we have a chance to do what nobody's ever done. So from now on, we're going to behave and play as our true selves, like champions. In everything we do, in class, in practice, in our sleep. This is my truth until I leave Pasadena as Rose Bowl champions. I'm telling you this because I sincerely believe it. I believe in you. Now I'm asking you to believe in me. Now let's get some rest and take care of business against Michigan on Saturday. I'm telling you, that game changed our lives. It was the game that Coach Tiller pointed at, that Purdue football, maybe now we've come of age. And those 6 freshmen, they all went on to become NFL draft picks. I mean, take a look at what letting go of the past, letting go of what we used to believe being a Purdue football player meant. Look at the power of letting go and believing can do. What I realized after taking this personal responsibility for my internal work, my thoughts, my energy, but most importantly, my faith and my belief in myself. In this moment, I now have a firsthand experience of how I can affect and create real change, create the human life experience that I so deeply desire for myself. For me, in this moment, I realize the true power I have over my experience, how my entire world is in my mind, and then I create it in my external world. And with this win, ladies and gentlemen, these basic instructions were born. It's just really interesting how everything Coach promised us in that first meeting was coming true. I just think back to that first meeting when he spoke to us. So out of nowhere, Coach Tiller said, "You're in Dorothy's shoes. What are you going to do?" And then he just looked at us with this intense gaze, panning from left to right, making deliberate eye contact with each of us, almost like he was saying with his eyes, "I'm talking to you." Then he spoke again and he said, "You're in Dorothy's shoes." Now, why were Dorothy's shoes such a big deal? Because she had those shoes with her the entire time down the yellow brick road, through all the problems she faced along the way, thinking somebody else had the answers to her problem. Guys, to get to where we want to go, you're facing some obstacles, but you already have the shoes. You've had them in the power they hold this entire time, the power that will give you exactly what you want. Remember, it wasn't until somebody gave Dorothy the basic instructions of how those shoes worked. Click 3 times. Did she understand that you are in control and how simple it is to be, do, and have what you most desire? And this is the Wizard of Oz, guys. Remember, it was all a dream. It's all in your head. And those 3 characters, when you think about what it's going to take to separate us from our past and become champions, that's just how you feel right now, not believing you are smart enough, you are tough enough. You do have the courage. It's all in your head. Those 3 characters, they're the obstacle that you got to get over. This belief that you've held on to for too long that you're not enough. We have to let that go. You've already proven that you are more than enough. You already have the power within you to be champions. And I'm just giving you the basic instructions, showing you guys how simple success is, just like clicking your heels 4 times. It's basic. You want to be champions? You already are champions. Follow this simple rule and the world is yours. Do what you're supposed to do, the way you're supposed to do it, when it's supposed to be done, and do it that way every time. So these basic instructions were given to me in our first meeting back in '97, and it's really kind of amazing when I think about it. This premonition of high-level success came to be true so fast. It's after 12 consecutive losing seasons for Purdue football. In 1997, Coach Joe Tiller was named the National Coach of the Year in college football nationally for the level of success he brought to a team that nobody believed could win. We finished in 2nd place in the Big Ten that year in '97 and ranked number 16 overall in the nation. In the 4 years I played for him, the first 4 of his tenure at Purdue, we never finished any lower than second place. And in 2000, we were indeed crowned conference champions, just like Coach said we would be. Now, this scene that you're witnessing right now is from November 18th, 2000. That's my 22nd birthday. This is senior day and the last game that I ever played at Purdue. I mean, just look at the scene. The crowd rushing the field, just like Coach said it would. The jubilation, the excitement, the pure ecstasy of this moment. For all of us, this is our reality right now. I experienced this 3 times in that 2000 season. I experienced this 5 times playing with this coach, including on my 22nd birthday, the last game I ever played at Purdue when we were made champs. I mean, it's just amazing sometimes the way that when you think that you're in a trap situation, you never know how it's going to play out. Because when I left Pittsburgh as a child to spend the next 12 years struggling to fit in, to find my tribe, and all I deeply desired during this time was to play sports and go back to Pittsburgh. That's all I ever wanted. And following these basic instructions is what enabled me to make both of those dreams, those specific desired results for my life, become my reality. I mean, back when I was 7 years old, I could have never imagined my real life would be even better than my fantasy. You know, it's the coaches, man. Coach just had a way with words. He just had a way of making the goals we have set for ourselves that seem impossible. Not only seem possible, but he taught us that if we follow the basic instructions, success is inevitable. Success is simple if you know the basic instructions. And that's my story. That is my story. So, you know, I'll give this information here in a little bit, but right now, I just want to give an opportunity to give people an opportunity to talk. Let's talk about it. And we'll tell you a little bit more about our Mindset Mastery program and keep the conversation going here in the club room. Did I lose you, Mark? Oh,
I'm coming. That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing, Chukky. Well done. So we've got a couple of questions right now that we'll jump right in and ask. And then I'm going to post in a couple of minutes the registration for the, if you do want to check out the Chukky 6-week basic instructions mindset mastery program, which is going to start on January 20th. So, but before you register for that, Jason had a couple of questions. One of them was, you know, what specific strategies do you like to use to align your conscious and subconscious mind?
Well, I mean, there's some pretty simple techniques if I was to tell you what they are right now, it wouldn't make any sense. But this is one of those things that, you know, when we get an opportunity to connect here in the club room, we can get one-on-one and getting deeper into it in the 6-week program, getting some more specifics of exactly how mental and emotional release works. How, you know, when we talk about 3-dimensional goal setting, is recognizing that, you know, the human mind and the animal mind, we essentially have to create our goals in the dog's language. You have to be able to, you know, logically, it's like, you ever feel like I know what I want, but something's stopping me, but I just can't. It's like, that means that the dog is pulling. It's about getting those aligned. You know, there's a number of different techniques. If you want to connect me on basicinstructions.com, LinkedIn, anywhere, I'm a nerd. So I would love to talk to you about this all night long. The specific techniques, I'll say a whole bunch of words in different languages right now you wouldn't know, but some pretty simple techniques. We're going to get in depth with those, you know, in January here. So, and we can always get into those conversations, and all you got to do is reach out.
Awesome. And he also asked you to incorporate forgiveness in this section. I mean,
oh yeah. Yeah, it's a big part of it, because by definition, forgiveness is basic instruction number 1. That's, I mean, just by definition. There's a lot, you know, we do a lot of work on forgiveness, and, you know, especially when I work with clients one-on-one, is a whole entire discipline that we create and make the habit of letting go, making it automatic. That's a lot of what we do with basic instructions, because anything we do with basic instruction number 4, focus, until we do it repeatedly, it will become a habit, like tying your shoes or driving a car. It hasn't changed.
And so I guess as a follow-up to that, as you were saying at the very start of this, this has been a challenging time and so forth, but I know some people might say, I mean, there's going to be some people say, wait, it's not that easy to just kind of flush away all this stuff out of your mind, or is it?
It is that simple. It's just that, I always think about it like thinking back to 2007 when I first got it, when this iPhone first came out, right? Now let's just imagine that somebody said, hey, here's an iPhone, man. You could land a plane with this. You could fly to the moon. You could do that. This is going to change your entire life. Keep this with you everywhere you go. And you're looking at like, yeah, man. Where are the buttons? How does this thing work? And this is garbage because you don't have the basic instructions. As long as, I'm sure we can all agree that operating these phones nowadays is pretty simple. But when you first saw this with no buttons going from Palm Pilots and Nokias, this was really confusing. So, a lot of times people might think it's not that simple, but I mean, Mark, I'll ask you, have you ever been upset about something, irritated, angry about something for an extended period of time that you're not angry about anymore?
Yes.
Okay. So, about how long did you hold on to whatever that emotion was, would you say?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, and I don't know if it's an answer where as I get a little older, I tend to worry a little bit less about, I sweat this, I don't sweat the small stuff anymore. But no, I mean, there's certain things that the grudges remain, and there are other things where I brush it aside because it's that the term life's too short. I mean, as you get a little older, you become more aware of that. But the answer is it's sometimes it's not that easy to brush things off.
Yeah, well, we'll come back to that. But what I'm saying is you've held things for a long time that you're not angry about anymore. At the point you decided to let it go, how long did it take?
It's quick like that. Like,
See, that's the thing, is letting go is easy. So, I met a gentleman earlier this year in March, and he, being in this conference that I was in, we was asked a question to the group. How, what's the longest somebody's held a grudge? People are, oh, I've been mad at my ex-husband for 30 years. You know how it goes. This guy had been mad at his dad for 71 years. He held it for 71 years, and before we left that room, it was gone. It's just a matter of, we don't know what you don't know. There are basic functions that we control every day that we're not necessarily aware that we're controlling. It's like, when I've, talked to a friend of mine who grew up with a father who was an alcoholic, and, all the specifics of what we talked about is not important. But one thing that I pointed out to her is the adults, your parents, they made their choices at a time when you as a kid didn't know what a choice was. And so this is at that point, children don't even know what a choice is. How many things do you not know that you have control over right now? Do you just not know? And so that's what this is all about. It's like getting you to know what's really going on in here so that you can take control of it.
That's amazing. So one other question, Melanie wants to know, do you have a specific faith that you rely on?
Well, I have my faith. I don't get into religion at all. I mean, that's just something that I don't really talk about much, but I have my faith. I think that the biggest thing about faith, religious faith in general, that I actually do like and think is very good is what it does, generally speaking, is it helps you strengthen your faith muscle. I mean, if you can't have faith in yourself, for example, you can have faith in Jesus Christ, so you're still working how to believe and how to, and that same faith that you have in your God, whatever that is, it can be applied to yourself and to your own goals. So I think, organized religion is good. It's just one of those things that, when we talk about the mindset program and the work I do, it's not a religious thing. It's a psychology. So, there's no conflicts or anything there. So I just never really bring it into the conversation. But generally speaking, I think faith is a good thing. It's a really good thing.
That's great. Great answer. So here's what we're going to do. Unless anybody has a last minute question, I've put in the general chat the information on how to register if you'd like to register now. And we can certainly follow up with the links in follow-up emails and so forth. But, oh, John, last second question here. Are you reprogramming stuff with the clients or programming stuff? Meaning, it says here, reprogramming a hard or sad moment in one's life.
Well, you're not. You don't. I don't reprogram. I don't do anything. Generally speaking, I'm a GP. I'm a guide. And so what it is that if somebody has a lot of hurt, pain, we'll just call it pain around a certain situation, certain memory, a certain loss from the past, is I wish I had one of those Men in Black sticks where I could just because I would charge a lot more money. But I don't have that kind of power. What we can do is I can guide them through the steps of how they can release it. I can't go in there and pull it out. That's the Wizard of Oz. No, I'm going to show you how to click 3 times. It's all about that individual. Are they ready to let it go? Sometimes we mourn certain situations or losses as if that negative emotion is keeping us attached to them, but that's not necessarily true. You can stay attached without holding on to sadness or anger or fear or guilt. There's other ways that we can remain connected to those things. So it's about helping the individual connect to how do I do that? It's not that people can't let go. They don't know how. They don't know what to do. And I've been there, and I'm sure everyone's been there. And once you don't know what you don't know, but once for me, when I go back to that bookstore, once somebody woke me up to this, I couldn't go back to sleep. Once somebody told, hey, you can control this. I mean, the intrigue just took over in my entire life. What am I, 42 now? I was 18, and I have not been able to let go of that. Like, I think back to losing my sister a couple of years ago, unexpectedly, and it was the most painful experience of my life. But I had this belief, like, this story, this idea, this internal representation of losing her, it hurts. There has to be some positive here. There has to be something more. This can't be it. And I actually recognized that she taught in her death, there was a major positive in my life that I gained. It didn't necessarily neutralize the loss, but I was able to focus on a different aspect of what had happened in my life. And losing her, she taught me something. I don't want to get into the whole story right now, but if you're not happy with the way things are in your life, you've got to make a move. You don't know when the last day is going to be, all the cliches, but dead ass. She had decided to retire from her job in January. She's a principal at a school. She told the school board she was leaving in June, and she died in April. And to me, it's like one day it just hit me. I said, that's it. That's it. She gave me the greatest gift I ever had, and waking me up from a situation that I was in. And so I can't, does that mean I'm not sad about, damn right I'm sad about every day. But that's not a record playing in my head. I'm not looking at my world through the lens of that sadness and loss. Things happen, positive or negative. I made a choice to see that situation as positive, and the positive that it brought to my life, and the positive 40 years I had, 38 years I had with her. I mean, it's beyond acceptance. It's a decision that you have to make, that I love this person and I'm sad. I will never stop loving, but I'm sick of fucking being sad. What do I do? I mean, that's what we're talking about. It's how do I separate that? There's a way, and this is what we're getting into in the 6-week program. This is the stuff we're getting into. Anybody who wants to reach out, connect, learn more, believe me, this is my passion. So
that definitely comes across. Well, look, let's do this. We're going to wrap things up in this part here. We're going to jump back to the tables. If anybody wants to sit down and have a chat and get some more specifics on all of this and more, we're going to go back there. Chukky, man, this was phenomenal. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate everybody that listen to me ramble on, because I can't be long-winded. I know that. But it's a good time. It's always a good time sharing, and it's always a good time talking about these things. And I love just showing people how much control they do have. I wish I could answer every question with like real quick answers, but it all, everything goes back to tying together everything we talked about, and we'll get even deeper into it here next month.
That's great. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll go back now, and thanks again, Chukky. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right.